what you've got from this. So the first thing is, I just talk about the fact that we are royalties. That's really important for me, that we are all royalty. We have an inheritance. We come from a position and a place of royalty, not scarcity. And there are rights and responsibilities that come with royalty. Okay. And what I came up with about 15 years ago was 7 royal rights and responsibilities to create wealth. And I took them from the Bible, because for me, that's a really important source of information that actually I had an interesting encounter back about 18 years ago, where I used to be a voracious reader, read about 3 to 5 books simultaneously, and get through books within a day to a week. And one day my bookshelf fell down, and I just heard God say to me, "Get back to the Bible. I'll teach you everything from there." And I've learned a lot from it, which has been great. So this is something that came out of there that really helped me get out of my scarcity mindset. The first thing is, it is your God-given right and responsibility to create wealth. Now, when you say God-given right and responsibility, it's your right, privilege, but it's also responsibility. All right. And the scripture, Deuteronomy 8:18, that says, "You shall remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the power to create wealth, that he may establish his covenant, which he swore to your fathers as it is this day." Remembering God is putting God first. Okay. And I think we're all in this room, people who put God first. It's he who gives you the power to create wealth. So he doesn't make you rich. He doesn't just drop money, but he gives you power to get ideas, gives you enabling. He empowers you to create ideas, create solutions to problems, create material things, maybe create inventions, create business ideas, create services and products. Okay, and that's very, very exciting. Okay, secondly, it's your God-given right and responsibility to live debt-free. Okay, Romans 13:8 says, "Let no debt remain outstanding except the continuing debt to love one another." So in other words, when you are hit by debt, one of the things that is really important to change our minds towards is that you have a right and a responsibility to live beyond debt. Okay, and look, we have some conversations around the idea of, is there good debt, bad debt? Are things like having a loan on a investment property a good debt versus having a car loan that is you ending up paying maybe 1.5 times more money, or credit card debt, is that a good or bad debt? So there's conversations around that, but in general, the mindset of that we have been given the responsibility and the right to be debt free. Thirdly, it's your God-given right and responsibility not to be poor. I love this one. In Deuteronomy 15:4, it says, "There should be no poor among you, for the Lord your God will greatly bless you in the land he's giving you as a special possession." So I often say people may come into our connections and into our circles of influence poor, but you can't remain poor. Because when you're around people who don't have a scarcity mindset, but more an abundance mindset, then poverty is not something that, because you got to either choose poverty or prosperity. There's nothing in between. And either you have a scarcity mindset or you have an abundance mindset. And you can be rich and still have a scarcity mindset. So keep that in mind as well. Number 4, it's your God-given right and responsibility to lend and not borrow. And that's a very powerful place. And I love this verse that says, there the Lord your God will bless you as he has promised. You will lend money to many nations, but will never need to borrow. You will rule many nations, but they will not rule over you. Like how amazing it is to be able to maybe sense that you could lend money not just to people, but to nations. That's truly running in an economic influence over nations and worlds. Okay, and some of you may not think that far. Others of you may be thinking that far and saying, wow, like, how do I rule a nation? But the main important thing is that no one's going to rule over you. Again, you are to be the lender, not the borrower. Number 5, it is your God-given right and responsibility to be a good steward of money. And we've talked about this in our chat groups. And I think one of the things a few of you have said is that word stewarding keeps coming up, and it's an important word. How do I steward money? I'm not a servant to money. Money is my servant. I'm not a slave to money. money should be my slave, but how do I steward well what I've been given? Because I am royalty. I have an inheritance. I have been created by royalty. And so how do I return and look back on what I've been given and steward it well and look after it well? Okay. So Luke 16:9-8-11 says, here's the lesson: use worldly resources to benefit others and make friends. If you are faithful in little things, you'll be faithful in large ones. But if you are dishonest in the little things, you won't be honest with the greater responsibilities. And if you are untrustworthy about the worldly wealth, who will trust you with the true riches of heaven? That's very powerful. Like, heaven wants to trust us with more important things than money, but money is like a test of character. And if we can work that well, we can work everything well. And remaining poor or running away from money is not a good test of character, because it says make friends using money. Number 6, it is your God-given right and responsibility to help the widows, orphans, fatherless, and the needy. James 1:27 says, pure and genuine religion in the sight of God the Father means caring for orphans and widows in their distress and refusing to let the world corrupt you. And finally, number 7, it is your God-given right and responsibility to be time-free, resourced, and available to fulfill the Great Commission. So I love number 7 because that's what I work backwards from, is that I want to be free to do the things that God has called me to do, that I have as a passion over my life. I want to be free to do those things. And I want to be able to run with a freedom that doesn't stop me from because of money or anything else. Okay. Now,